either due to a wrestler not being happy with what their colleague has unleashed into the Twitterverse, taking offense to other folks' backstage etiquette, or being rubbed up the wrong way by a veteran voice behind the scenes. Each of these talents weren't afraid to hang a fellow employee out to dry for the world to see. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 times wrestlers took shots at colleagues. Number 10. AJ Styles doesn't hold back when discussing Paul Heyman. Mid-2020 was a bit of a messy time for WWE's resident Phenomenal One, largely thanks to the knock-on effects that followed the sudden departure of his longtime pals and stablemates Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. Not long after the OC men were released from the company, AJ Styles would find himself hopping from Monday to Friday nights, with many suggesting that this was due to the former WWE champion's feelings towards the man he felt was responsible for his bud's unexpected departure. Styles would later very publicly blast the one-time executive director of Raw for going out of his way to ensure the Bullet Club men were given the heave-ho. And on top of labeling him a liar, he'd also claimed that everybody felt the same way about Roman Reigns' current special counsel. That being, you've done some great things in the past, but you're not well liked here. Hit the bricks. Number 9. Goldberg thinks the modern-day wrestler should get a little thicker skin. Jumping to the defense of his former Super Showdown sparring partner earlier this year, Goldberg had no problem agreeing that comparatively the business is soft when put up against the periods those two wrestling icons worked through. It also seems as though DeMann has struggled to get through a program in recent memory without being chastised for taking spots away from those who are currently working full-time within WWE. Yet Goldberg saw things a little differently when discussing his current role in the company on After the Bell, confessing, "When legends came in when I was in the business in the beginning, I was greatly appreciative of the eyes that they brought to our product. And one day, those young kids are going to be in a position just like me, and I hope that karma comes back to bite them in the ass." Bill also wasn't afraid to call out the thin skin of the current crop of talent. Goldberg has never been one to shy away from letting his true feelings be known, but as we'll go on to note, perhaps he should practice a little more of what he preaches. Number 8. Seth Rollins has no interest in facing Matt Riddle during his career. When Seth Rollins unexpectedly shot down the prospect of ever going one-on-one with Matt Riddle at any point in his in-ring career during an appearance on a WWE Draft watch-along episode, it's safe to say a large number of fans were caught a little bit off guard. It wasn't made known publicly what had actually gone down between the pair, but many pointed to Riddle's wife calling out multiple women on the WWE roster for not being in shape, Rollins' partner Becky Lynch included, as the cause of said friction. However, a few months down the road, the King of Bros would finally shed some light on the whole situation. Riddle revealed that he apologized to the architect for his wife's Instagram comments, and that the two are now on decent professional terms. This was evidenced in Rollins blasting Riddle with a curb stomp during this year's Royal Rumble. Glad to see they're getting along, sort of. Number 7. Matt Riddle calls Goldberg unsafe and dangerous. Speaking of the always outspoken former NXT man, you can forget that period in time when the King of Bros decided to suddenly turn into Goldberg's own personal heckler. It all started back when Big Bill took to the ring to battle a certain dead man in Saudi Arabia back in 2019. Tickled by DeMann's attempts to lock in a knee bar, Riddle would later go on to take things up a notch, firing off at the former WCW man for being unsafe and dangerous during said contest. Riddle wasn't done there though, not by a long shot. He would also claim that Goldberg should stop being a baby, in response to his aforementioned comments on the current generation taking offense too easily. Needless to say, it's no surprise the former Universal Champion seemed less than impressed when the pair bumped into each other backstage at SummerSlam 2019. So add Bill to the list of folks Riddle won't be classing as a best friend anytime soon. Number 6. AEW stars hit back at Jim Ross's criticism. Jim Ross's recent declaration that everybody does the same effing spot when discussing the overuse of dives to the outside went down rather badly with a number of his current co-workers. JR also didn't shy away from his dislike of how the DDT and Superkick are utilized in modern day matches. One AEW star who remained nameless responded to these words by saying, "I agree that sometimes things need to be slowed down, but that won't happen when the guy who is supposed to help put us over is going out there and publicly burying us." Brandon Cutler also hilariously took a cheeky shot at the AEW AEW announcer's words on Twitter shortly after, quoting Ross's dive comments when promoting an upcoming 7-on-7 match on Dynamite. Any publicity's good publicity, right? Number 5, multiple wrestlers call out Jackson RYKER'S tweet. It looked as though Jackson RYKER'S career inside of Vince McMahon's empire was on rather thin ice midway through 2020, as the former forgotten son opted to send out a tweet that rubbed up a number of WWE stars the wrong way, tweeting his support for President Donald Trump not long after peaceful protesters against the killings of unarmed black people were tear-gassed outside of the White House to clear a path for the WWE Hall of Famer. RYKER oddly decided to sign off said tweet with the catchphrase of his one-time stable. It didn't take long for various WWE stars to get wind of this altogether baffling move. And sure enough, the likes of Kevin Owens, Mustafa Ali, Ricochet and Sami Zayn did not hold back. RYKER would subsequently find himself off WWE television for some time following these comments, before eventually returning as part of the Red brand in December. Number 4, Becky Lynch makes an example out of Corey Graves. When you come at the man, you best not miss. Corey Graves unfortunately found this sobering fact out the hard way towards the beginning of 2019, when he decided to offer a cheeky response to a fan on Twitter, when said follower revealed that they were wishing for an on-screen romance angle between Graves and Becky Lynch. The then dual-branded commentator replied by admitting, "Me too, she could use it." As Becky put it, "Of all the things I could use in my life right now, a romance with a middle-aged emo poured into skinny jeans isn't one of them. Maybe you should wait till Monday to reply, you know, when you'll have help with what to say." Yeesh. You do have to imagine that the pair were merely working their asses off here. But there's no denying that these shots, along with a few other digs between the two a month or so earlier, were still a little close to the bone. Number 3, John Cena calls out locker room complacency. John Cena found himself in a unique position around 2017. He'd long since established himself as one of the GOATs when it came to World Wrestling Entertainment, but he still very much had something to offer when it came to setting the company up for its future without him. This manifested itself in many ways, from Cena putting over the new poster boy that was Roman Reigns at No Mercy, to calling out the current crop of WWE stars in the back for perhaps getting a little too comfortable in their positions. That latter point came fresh off of the leader of the C Nation infamously declaring to the big dog that the only reason he was still around was largely due to the fact that he couldn't do his job. But going further into what he saw as an alarming amount of complacency in the locker room at that time, while speaking on ENC's Pod of Awesomeness, Cena explained, "I think the guys right now just feel like a piece of the system, rather than this creative force. All we'll say is that we hope the 2021 locker room are on their toes now that Super Cena has made his triumphant return." Number 2, Ronda Rousey takes aim at huge soft egos. Perhaps Ronda Rousey's most unique selling point throughout her time as a full-time star in the land of WWE, besides her ability to genuinely ragdoll just about anyone in the ring with her, was the fact that you never really could tell whether the words that left her mouth were a complete work or a little bit of a shoot. That eye-catching ability extended itself to her time away from the squared circle too, as Rousey kicked up a fuss last year when she decided to label her alternate combat sports run as fake fighting. The former UFC bantamweight champion also wasn't afraid to take aim at folks for tiptoeing around bruising some pro wrestlers' huge soft egos after her appearance on Steve-O's Wild Ride podcast. It's still not massively clear whether this move was used to drum up some worked heat for Rousey's eventual return to the company, with a number of current WWE names firing back at Rousey online shortly after. But her fiery comments certainly made the headlines, much like the star's most recent attack on ungrateful idiot fans in the wake of Bray Wyatt's release. She just can't help herself. Number 1, Tyler Breeze blasts entitled wrestlers. Recently released former WWE star Tyler Breeze has wasted little time sharing a piece of his mind in the wake of his unexpected exit from Vince McMahon's company a few months ago. Instead of calling out his former employers for their decision to let both Breezango members go in June though, Prince Pretty has turned his attention to those of his former colleagues who he feels are entitled. Whilst talking to the Straight Shooting podcast, the one-time NXT man confessed, "People are so entitled that they're like, I should have got this and you deserve this. No, none of us deserve anything. and we're very lucky to be part of it, and we're lucky to get an opportunity. All in all, the selfie stick wizard suggested that if stars weren't happy after they'd signed a piece of paper for a certain amount of money to sit on the bench and get used if they get used, then they should probably get a different job. Tell us how you really feel, Breeze. And that's our list. Know of any other times wrestlers took shots at their colleagues? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!